Hi, everyone, and a pleasant good evening to you once again as I am Tony Abatey, and we are back here at the Tiger Dome getting ready for match number 2 tonight for the Fort Scott Lady Tigers. Fort Scott lost their opening match here this evening to Chanute in 2 sets. Pretty hard-fought first set. Second set went pretty quickly for the Blue Comets as again, Fort Scott lost in 2 sets in the first match, but they will take on a Pittsburg team that they beat just a week or so ago down in Girard in 2 sets. And so we'll see what they do against Pittsburg here tonight. But Pittsburg just had a great match against Chanute themselves. They got down, they lost the first set 25-9, but then battled back, won the second set. I believe it was 25-22, and then took Chanute deep in that third set. Chanute did end up winning, but it was a pretty good match to watch, really. If you like volleyball, it was pretty jam-packed with action back and forth from both teams. And we'll see what the Lady Tigers can do against Pittsburg here in just a moment as they will get started here. They'll give Fort Scott a few minutes to warm up just a little bit. They've already played a match, but they've sat for a little while. And, of course, Pittsburg just coming off the floor after playing just a few moments ago. So we'll take the time to thank our sponsors. We've got a lot of really great sponsors that are with us this year on Duckbait TV. Thanks again for joining us here on YouTube.com, and we're really excited about this going forward. We've got a lot of great sponsors, and as I mentioned, Joey Fritter is a loan officer with Open Mortgage. Open Mortgage is a multi-channel mortgage lender, believing that better is possible, constantly striving to bring a better mortgage experience to everyone. Joey can assist you when buying a home from start to finish. Her office is located at 1 East Wall Street here in Fort Scott. Call today to get pre-qualified for a home loan at 620-644-8146. H2 Painting LLC, the right way the first time. Look them up on Facebook at facebook.com/H2PaintingSCK or call them at 620-605-2769. Chad Cousins is your local 1842 Wealth Management Financial Advisor. Contact Chad for more information by email at chad@1842wealth.com or call Chad at 620-215-9240. Liberty Savings has been in Fort Scott since 1919, helping community members with their banking needs for over 100 years. Visit them at 24 South Judson or call at 620-223-0300. State Farm agent Cale Nelson is your local agent for home and auto. Contact Cale for a quote. Visit Cale's website at calenelson.com or give him a call at 620-223-2828. Highway 3 has modern personalized fleece name blankets along with a fun and unique personalized gifts. You can also now find Highway 3 products at several retail stores in the area. For more information, follow their Facebook page at facebook.com/shophighway3 or check out their website, shophighway3.com. And Edward Jones has been advising customers in the world of finance for over 100 years. Financial advisor Jamie Armstrong continues that tradition in Fort Scott. Contact Jamie by phone at 620-223-1866 or email Jamie at jamie.armstrong@edwardjones.com. Well, we still got a few minutes to go in the warm-up session here for both teams as we head into action tonight. Again, Fort Scott taking on Pittsburg in just a few moments here on Duckbait TV. Again, thank you so much for joining us here on the YouTube channel. We're excited. We are very excited to be able to bring these games to you. And I know we haven't done that many volleyball matches this year, but we're hoping to increase that as the years go on and hoping to increase our ability to do as many events as we can as we continue to go here with the channel. So looking forward to what's ahead for us at Duckbait TV, and looking forward to what's ahead for the Fort Scott Tigers and Lady Tigers. We're trying to, hopefully, going to be able to do sub-state for the volleyball girls in a couple of weekends. So hopefully we'll get that figured out quickly and be able to do that. And so we're looking forward to that. That'll be on the 21st, I believe, is the day, Saturday, coming up in a couple of weeks for the Lady Tigers. Don't know exactly where they'll go yet. It's very much like basketball, where they will determine that at the end of the regular season. So I'm not sure exactly where they will go just yet, but looking forward to that, and those seedings coming out soon. And hopefully the Lady Tigers will have a nice trip and be able to win a couple of matches and go on to state. But we'll see how that goes as everything shakes out here soon. Of course, don't forget, we've got Fort Scott Tiger football for you this Friday night on Duckbait TV as the Tigers take on Spring Hill this Friday evening. Fort Scott had a phenomenal game last week, and if you've been looking for it to relive that from Friday night, it is on the channel. What you'll need to do right now is click over under the live tab. If you're looking there at the channel at Duckbait TV, just click on that live tab and it should come up. It still says, and I haven't been able to figure out how to change it. I was able to do that with a couple other things, and I don't want to delete it, so I'm trying to figure out exactly how to change that. It still says Labette County. I don't know why, but that is the Chanute game. So there's two games under that live tab that say Labette County. The most recent one, of course, is Chanute. Anyway, I'm trying to figure that out. And I added the wrong video when I added it to the regular page. And so I'll fix that later on tonight. But I know a lot of folks are looking for that video and hoping to watch that again. Tigers had a phenomenal game on Friday night. So if you did miss it, I encourage you to go back and check it out. Took the lead late over Chanute, and unfortunately the Blue Comets came right back down and scored. It got a 2-point conversion and won 29-28. But Fort Scott gave a phenomenal effort, and looking forward to this week and next week, their final two regular season matchups, and then we'll see where they go on the playoffs. If the playoffs started last week, this past Friday, Fort Scott would have been at home. They would have been the 8th seed, but we'll see how that shakes out after the next couple of weeks, and hopefully Fort Scott can win the next couple of games and be over 500. That isn't necessarily a guarantee of a home game, but it would be a pretty good place to be if looking for a home game for that first round of the playoffs coming up in a few weeks. So looking forward to it. Thanks for joining us again here on Duckbait TV, as that's pretty much where we're at right now as far as upcoming broadcasts. Again, we're hoping to do Sub-State, girls Sub-State for volleyball in a couple of weeks, and the rest of the football schedule, and then we'll see what we can do over the winter. Hopefully, we're planning on doing the full basketball schedule. We're looking forward to that as well, and trying to put the pieces together to do that coming up as that will get started here in not too long. It's already October 10th, right? So it'll be basketball season before you know it, which is kind of crazy to think about, but it is true. I know KU and a lot of the other Division I schools had their late night this last week, so they're getting their practices started. Of course, high school's a little bit after that, but looking forward to what's ahead for us. So anyway, thanks again for joining us here on Duckbait TV. Again, and I know I've said this a lot, and it's probably annoying for some people, and I do apologize for that, but this has been a really cool thing that my wife and I have been able to get started and do here in Fort Scott, just giving everybody another option, another way to watch your Tigers as we go through these seasons. We know it's important to a lot of folks out there to be able to have a way to see their kids play, or their grandkids, or their great-grandkids, or their aunts and uncle, or their nieces and nephews, or whatever the case may be. And so we nobody was doing a YouTube thing in this manner for Fort Scott, and so we thought, hey, let's jump on that and see where that's going, and it's been pretty good so far. So I know we've had a few hiccups here and there along the way, but looking forward to trying to set a record for saying looking forward in a matter of 10 minutes. So I think we're pretty close to that. But anyway, definitely excited about what's to come for the Tigers and the Lady Tigers, and of course us here at Duckbait TV. So we've had a great community support so far, and it's been great. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, I do encourage you to do that. Once we get to 1,000 subscribers, and I know we were right around 150 the last time I checked. But once we get to 1,000 subscribers, YouTube will automatically archive our broadcasts. That's their terminology. If you go, like I said, if you go to that live tab, you can find the videos that we've already, or the live broadcasts that we've already had. Those are still up there, at least back the last a few weeks. I haven't gone back further than that, but they're still up there, so they're still archived in a way on the YouTube channel, or on YouTube. So, but we do encourage you to hit that subscribe button. A couple of things for you. First of all, like I said, if we get to 1,000, when we get to 1,000 subscribers, they'll automatically archive our broadcast. But also, if you subscribe to the channel, there's no cost to it. But once you do that, then as soon as you sign into YouTube, it will show you your subscribed channels, and if anybody's live at that moment or whatever. I know I've subscribed to a couple, and when I was looking at stuff last Friday night, a couple other area broadcast teams, and they popped right up, and so that's a cool thing. So if you're looking for us or having trouble trying to find us or whatever, just hit that subscribe button, and we should pop up fairly quickly, fairly easily for you once you sign into YouTube again. So we've had a few questions over that. So if you are watching on your computer screen, the subscribe button should be right under the picture if you're not watching in full screen mode. So if you are watching in full screen mode, pop out of that, escape out of that for just a minute, and then find that subscribe button underneath the screen. Same thing if you're watching on your phone. Just make sure your phone is in portrait mode, which is up and down, of course, not landscape mode, which is across. But if you've got it in that portrait mode, you should see the subscribe button under there. If you're watching on your smart TV, it may take a little bit more effort for you. You'll have to click on the Duckbait TV logo, and then there should be the subscribe button that comes up from that. So a couple extra clicks for you if you're watching on your smart TV at home. But again, we've had, last I checked, we had about 150 subscribers, and that's a great response from the community that we were hoping we would have a response like that, but not it just not trying to get too ahead of ourselves, of course, with that, and so that's been great. So again, thanks to everybody for supporting us here at Duckbait TV. Looks like we're about ready to get things going here in match number 2 for the Fort Scott Lady Tigers. They'll be in the foreground, the forecourt here, as Pittsburg will be on the far side, and they will serve. The Purple Dragons will serve first here. And first serve is unable to be returned by the Lady Tigers. Keegan Yart trying to get her hands on that one, and did, but couldn't quite get enough on it to get it back around the other direction. And another point for Pittsburgh. So they've got a quick 2-0 lead here in set number 1. High dig that time by Fort Scott. They'll go back to the far side. Nice swing, but it's dug by Pittsburgh. And they will dig it way too wide. Trying to find a teammate over there, but couldn't quite get it done. So Fort Scott is on the board for the first time here in this match tonight. So back to serve is Dakota Hazelbaker. Nice serve by Dakota, and Pittsburgh able to get the point, though. Again, the Purple Dragons coming off of a 2-1 defeat, loss to Chanute just a few moments ago, but they battled very well in that game, so I'm sure that they are riding high after that. Fort Scott trying to get back in this one themselves. They'll serve or find the middle blocker, Kylie Comstock, and she swung it just a little bit too wide that time. So it's 4-1 Pittsburgh. Now they got to go chase the ball down. will serve the near side here. Nice job by Kegler to get it over the net. Back over to Fort Scott. Nice swing, and it's blocked by Pittsburg. So they get another point here. They've got 5 of the first 6. It's 5-1. Job by Fort Scott to keep that one alive. They'll go back to Comstock in the middle. Now Pittsburg able to get to the edge, and they will find the empty part of the court. And the Lady Tigers are going to take a quick timeout here, as it is quickly 6-1 in favor of Pittsburg here in the opening frame. Saw Pittsburg in their match against Chanute. They did that quite a bit. They got to, they set way out wide, and that gives that outside hitter a really interesting angle to use, and worked out pretty well for him, especially in the second and third sets. Worked out pretty well so far here in the first one tonight against Fort Scott. We'll see if Lady Tigers can kind of rebound from that. Got to get it over, and they do. Come back near side. Nice dig. Oh, a long dig, though, that time. But Kegler able to recover at the net. Pittsburg back their other way. Come back over far side. Nice swing that time by Fort Scott, but it's dug by Pittsburg. They'll keep it alive. Nice rally here, and that one's going to go wide. So Fort Scott will get that side out they needed. Point and serve back to the Lady Tigers. It's now 6-2 in the opening set tonight. Kylie Comstock will go back to serve. Long dig that time by Pittsburg, but they used it well. Another dig by the Purple Dragons. They'll get it back over the net to Fort Scott. They'll go far side off the block there, but it's dug by Pittsburg. They'll keep it alive. Set the far side. Long dig that time, but they'll get it back to Keegan, who finds the back corner. So another long rally, but this time it goes the way of Fort Scott, 6-3. Lady Tigers with the lead. Comstock serving again. Pittsburg with the lead, if I said Fort Scott there. 6-3, but Fort Scott with the serve. Trying to get back in this one. Long dig that time. That one's going to go off of one of the Fort Scott Lady Tigers on the front, and Pittsburgh's going to get it back. Serving now for the Purple Dragons, their only senior on the roster, Riley Manuel. They have a young club, and a long swing that time by Keegan. It looked like Keegan was trying to go off the block of Pittsburg and go out of bounds that way, but Purple Dragons pulled back at the right time, and that one just went long for Fort Scott. Go back to Kylie. That one, they're going to say for contact on Fort Scott. They say Pittsburg didn't hit that. It hit the net. It's pretty close either way, but unfortunately, the Lady Tigers don't get the benefit of the doubt that time. We'll get it over the net, back to the front row. Nice block by Keegan, and Fort Scott's going to get the point. So Raven Kegler back to serve. Long dig that time by Pittsburg. They used it. Back over to the near corner, and now it's over to Pittsburg again. A lefty swinger that time, but it's off the pinky, it looked like. And point goes to Fort Scott. Nice dig by the Lady Tigers. They get it over to Stewart. She's able to get it over the net. Now they'll try that corner again, Pittsburgh does. Kegler at the line. Nice job by Fort Scott as they get the ball. Kegler was right up next to the net. But she found Keegan Yarrick, and Yarrick was able to slam it home for the point for the Lady Tigers. 9-6. Fort Scott making a comeback here in set number 1. Pittsburgh uses that tough angle, but Fort Scott able to return it. That one was long. They're going to give it to Fort Scott. I think Keegan touched it just barely at the net, and that's what the down official has overruled. So that one will go to Pittsburgh, 10-6. Keegan trying to get it back, and she will. Now Avery Stewart back to serve. Keegan the last couple of times, she's, she tried that one where it looked like she was intentionally trying to go off of the Pittsburgh block as they can't return that serve from the Lady Tigers. That'll make it 10-8. Long dig that time for Pittsburgh. They get to the near side, though. Nice job to keep it alive by Fort Scott. This one's got to go over, and it does. Nice block at the net. Pittsburgh trying to keep it alive. They do. Comes to Kegler. They get it over to Keegan, and Yarrick able to knock that one in there. Pittsburgh returned it but didn't get it over the net. So Fort Scott gets that one back. That'll make it 10-9. Avery Stewart serving again for the Lady Tigers. Oh, and a backwards pass. Oh, and Fort Scott couldn't quite get to it. Pittsburgh hasn't shown that one in this match yet. The setter just kind of tossed it backwards over the net. And that worked out for the Lady Dragons that time. So they'll get point and serve back after a nice little run there by the Lady Tigers. Come to Keegan on the near side. Pittsburgh able to return it, but it's blocked. Oh, just did trickle out of bounds. So Pittsburgh will get the point. Tough luck for the Lady Tigers. Sydney Pruitt in on that block. Looked like Keegan was also there. Fort Scott able to get it over the net. Now back. They get it to Kegler. She'll go far side. Over there to Hazel Baker. A couple of Dragons run into each other, but everybody looks to be okay. Now they'll come back near side. Fort Scott will try to go to the far side. Did it hit? I think it did. Touched the Pittsburgh Purple Dragon there. So Fort Scott's going to get the point. Flag official on the back behind Pittsburgh said that touched one of their players. Couldn't tell if it was in or not, but either way, it touched one of their players, and now Fort Scott gets another point. So Yarrick to serve again. 12-11. Pittsburgh still on top, but Fort Scott coming all the way back, and they will tie it up. That swing, they tried to use that angle again, Pittsburgh, but that time just a little bit too difficult for Pittsburgh to keep it in bounds. So it is 12-all here in set number 1. And a serve is a little long that time from Keegan. So we'll go back over to Pittsburgh. Nice swing that time by the Lady Tigers was a little bit too long. Too wide, rather. So after Fort Scott got it tied at 12, it's now 14-12 Pittsburgh. Find Kegler in the middle. Now back over, and it was deflected off of Pittsburg. But that's what the call was going to be, and then I saw a couple of Pittsburgh players clapping. Got nervous that they might have called something else, but they give it back to Fort Scott. Comstock in the middle. Nice job to return it by Pittsburgh, though. Kegler. Oh, that should have been a double contact, I believe, on Pittsburgh. Going to get a block at the net. Pittsburgh's going to get the point, and Coach Kegler is going to go ask, and it sure did look like number one for Pittsburgh hit that one 2 times in a row, and that's not legal. Are they going to replay it? I think they're going to replay it maybe. I think with the officials, they couldn't tell if it was hit by Ivory Watts twice in a row or if one of her teammates hit it first before she hit it and knocked it over the net. Pittsburgh ends up with the point anyway. Kill from the outside hitter. Nice drop shot there for Fort Scott. Come back the near side. Nice dig on the back row. Lady Tigers, ooh. Man, just can't get it over that block right now. Now we got a whistle, and they're going to get a net violation, it looks like, on Pittsburgh. Blocker on the front, Ona George. Fort Scott just couldn't get it past her there initially, and then the net violation. 15-14, set number 1. That angle working well for Pittsburgh again. As it is 16-14. Erica Maxwell will serve now. She has been the outside hitter the last couple of times, using that angle to perfection. Fort Scott able to get a point back, though. Avery Stewart. She'll get credit for the kill there. Now Comstock back to serve again for Fort Scott. Oh, that looked like it was going to go over the net for a second. Hit the top of the net and didn't quite trickle over. Go to Yarick, and that one swung into the net. Didn't get quite enough on it for Keegan. Ooh, dig is wide that time from Fort Scott, so the point goes back over to Pittsburgh. A little run here by the Purple Dragons. Yarick gets the ball over the net. Oh, nice block by Keegan. It stays on Fort Scott's side, though. They'll have to keep it going here as Avery Stewart gets it across the net. And now we got the whistle as that one goes off of one of the back row players for Pittsburgh, and the point goes back to Fort Scott. This set has been pretty close since the outset. Pittsburgh had a lead of 6 or 7 to 1. Fort Scott was able to come back. They got it tied at 12, and we've kind of gone back and forth since then. Nice block. And that one's dug wide. So Fort Scott gets another point. Sidney Pruitt on the block that time for Fort Scott. 19-17 now. Tigers trail by just 2. I think Yarrick was in on that as well on that block previously. Long dig that time for Fort Scott. It's blocked, and it will find the back corner. Tough luck for the Lady Tigers. They had too many up close to the net. Couldn't get back to dig that one. Pittsburgh the first one to 20 here in this first set. Now Fort Scott's going to get a point back on the service error. 20-18 here in set number 1. And another kill from Keegan Yarrick. They set her up perfectly on that. Dig was a little bit out of control that time from Pittsburgh. Keegan read it perfectly and made it count for the Tigers. 20-19 now here in set number 1. Pittsburgh's going to get a point back. Oh, did it hit the net or hit the antenna? It did. I believe that's what the I believe that's what the flag official was saying, was that it hit the antenna, and now Pittsburgh's going to take a timeout. As Fort Scott has gotten it tied again, it is tied at 20 here in set number 1. So if you're new to volleyball, you've got to get it over the net, but in between the 2 antennas. I don't know if we can get a close-up shot of those or not, but an antenna right there is what the officials said it hit. It cannot hit that. It's got to go in between the 2 antennas. There's another one on the other side as well. It's got to go in between those. And over the net, of course. And another point here for Pittsburgh. Excuse me, no, Fort Scott. So Lady Tigers are out in front now, 21-20. Nice little drop shot, and we're going to be tied at 21. As Pittsburgh will take the serve back here. Fort Scott finds the right side, and a nice kill from Dakota Hazelbaker. That'll give Fort Scott the lead back, and now the Lady Tigers are just 3 points away from taking this first set. Did not look like this was going to be able to happen early on in this set, but they have battled back. Credit to Coach Kegler and the Lady Tigers. Long dig that time for Pittsburgh. Fort Scott able to return it, though. Get it to Hazelbaker in the corner. That one may have been going out, but Pittsburgh played it anyway. Still alive. Back to Kegler. Now they go to Keegan, and just tried to get that up corner up by the net that time on Pittsburgh. That was open, but didn't get enough on it to get it over the net. We're tied again, 22-all here in set number 1. Nice dig for long dig that time for Pittsburgh. Fort Scott able to corral it on the backside. Keegan trying to find the back corner. Nice dig by Pittsburgh to keep it alive. They'll try to set the far side outside hitter. And Fort Scott couldn't quite get to it. So Fort Scott will take their final timeout of this first set. So 23-22. Pittsburgh back on top here in set number 1. Fort Scott trying to stay in this one. And tough luck there for the Lady Tigers. Now it is set point for Pittsburgh, 24-22. Fort Scott sets the near side, trying to find the back corner, but it's dug by Pittsburgh. They'll set the far near side. Nice block by the Lady Tigers. They kept it in play, but Pittsburgh does as well. And that one's going to go wide. But Fort Scott stays alive. First one to 25, but you got to win by 2. So Fort Scott can throw a wrench in that if they can get another point here. Still set point for Pittsburgh. Fort Scott with the serve. Pittsburgh gets it over the net. Now back to Fort Scott. Kegler finds Comstock and swings it just a little bit too wide. So the first set goes to Pittsburgh. 25-23. So after the first set, the teams switch sides. Of course, that is customary in the game of volleyball. And Fort Scott will have to come back in this one as they lose the first set here 25-23. They fought hard, but that early deficit that they gave themselves really came back to haunt them there late. Fort Scott gets the first serve here in this set. Try to get the first point as well. See if they can. That one hit the net, but went over. Fort Scott able to keep it alive. Nice job by the Lady Tigers. It's a long rally here. And the setter for Pittsburgh, that little drop shot again, Lauren Crawford. A lot of setters have that in their back pocket, but they don't use it all that often. So teams get used to going to one side or the other, and then all of a sudden the setter just drops that one over the net for an easy point. And we've got a point for Fort Scott here. I'm wondering if they called out a rotation. I was trying to fix the scoreboard here. Or looks like they've called out a rotation on Pittsburg. Again, if you're new to volleyball, you got spot you're supposed to be. Nice job as that one was dug too long. And Fort Scott able to respond and knock that one in. Great job by Kylie Comstock. Set the far side again, that tough angle, but Fort Scott able to return. Get it over now. Fort Scott, a long dig that time, but they recover. Pittsburg goes far side, trying to block it. Fort Scott is, but couldn't quite get all of the oomph they needed from that. So we are tied again 2-2 here in set number 2. Again, Fort Scott's got to win this one and then the third one. Pittsburg, after winning the first set, just has to win. This one's still alive. Well, they must have blown it dead once it went. Did it go? It must have gone into the JV court. We've got a scorer's table question now. Wondering if the scorer's table is asking or wondering if Pittsburg was out of rotation again, and maybe they've got it wrong on their sheet where they're supposed to be. Again, if you're new to volleyball, if you're not, of course, this is going to be old hat for you, but if you're new, you've got a spot where your position, your place is supposed to be on the court, and it rotates with every serve change. And if you are determined to be out of the proper spot when the serve occurs, and that is a violation. And you set that lineup before the set starts, and you go from there. You see a lot of small schools like a Uniontown or Jayhawk Lynn or something like that. They're only going to use 6 girls, and so those girls just rotate around the court. But if you have subs, you have to sub in for a position. So take football, for example. If you're subbing in for the quarterback, then you have to play quarterback. You can't sub in for the quarterback and then go play running back or wide receiver. Might be a better example if you sub in for a wide receiver, you can't go back and play running back, or vice versa, things like that. Usually the person that subs in for the quarterback is going to play quarterback. But anyway, so we're going to go back. We're going to go back in time, apparently, as they have put the scoreboard at 2-1 in favor of Fort Scott. Now you got to determine who's going to serve it. They've got 2-1 up on the scoreboard, and Fort Scott with the lead. Home is leading here. So our scoreboard hopefully reflects the same thing that they're showing here in the Tiger Dome. And it looks like maybe now they've got it all sorted out, and Fort Scott's going to get another point as that serve was long. And another serve long, this time from Fort Scott. Hadley Forrester trying to find that back line, but couldn't keep it in. So it'll go down 3-2 now. Fort Scott still on top. Good dig by Forrester, but nobody there for the Lady Tigers. I'm not sure if they looked like they had some miscommunication on who was supposed to come get that one. You like? Finish that thought here in a moment as Keegan Yarrick. They're going to say that one's long. That looked pretty good, but of course we're not right there on the line either. So after all of that a moment ago, Pittsburgh had a serve that was long, gave it back to Fort Scott, and now Pittsburgh hasn't missed a point since then. And that's a lift. Probably going to be either a lift or a double contact. You could get either one on that one, but either way, the point goes to Fort Scott. We were trying to say there on that previous point for the Lady Tigers, in a perfect case scenario, you have somebody dig the ball on the serve or shot from the other team. That one's going to go wide or long for Pittsburgh, so Fort Scott goes back on top 5-4 here. But in a perfect case scenario, what you want to do is you want to have somebody dig the ball to your setter, and then your setter finds somebody to get it over the net. And I think that's what Fort Scott, where the confusion was. They thought Raven was going to be able to get to that ball, and she couldn't. It's all in the past now as the Lady Tigers lead again 5-4. We're replaying this point here. Not sure what the confusion was, what the call there was, but we're replaying the point. Still 5-4. And now it's 6-4 Fort Scott, as that one was swung right into the net by the Purple Dragons. And that one looked to be a little bit long that time for Fort Scott, so they'll go back over to Pittsburgh. Nice job by Keegan. She's able to find the empty part of the Pittsburgh defense. Nice job by Fort Scott to keep that one alive, and that one went off of one of the Pittsburgh players and down. So Fort Scott gets another point here. That'll make it 8-5. Oh, and that one hit the antenna again. So that's the downside of that angle. If you're Pittsburgh, try to get that angle, and it makes it really tough to defend for the other team, but it also brings those antennas back into play a little bit more often than what you would want as the offensive team in that case. Comes near side and swung a little bit long that time. It looked like Dakota was trying to go off of the block once again, and right at the last second, Pittsburgh pulled that block away. That'll make it 9-6 in favor of Fort Scott, but Pittsburgh serving. That one into the net. This one is going to be a 4 contact on Fort Scott. Not a great dig that time for the Lady Tigers. And that was not a great serve that time for the Lady Dragons. Trying that backward dump shot again, and it works again for Pittsburgh. It's one that they haven't used often, but when they've used it, it's really thrown Fort Scott for a loop so far. We'll serve the back row. They get it to Kegler. Pittsburgh will go for that angle again, but it's dug by Fort Scott. Back over, off the block, dug by Pittsburgh, though. Come to the near side. Oh, she was in the net? Somebody was in the net. And they're going to say Fort Scott was first. So 10-9 is the call, or is the score. A long dig that time. Oh, Fort Scott able to get it over the net. So maybe a close. I'm not exactly sure what the violation there was for Fort Scott. We're tied again here in this set. Fort Scott gets that one. It's now 11-10. Fort Scott back on top by 1. And that one's going to be a little bit too long. The second set has gone back and forth, much like the first one did. Fort Scott gets it over the net. Pittsburgh has the response. Nice dig back to the middle. Nice job by Fort Scott as Comstock finds the open part of the defense. And that'll make it 12-11. Nice block at the net there by Pittsburgh. Fort Scott's got to keep going with it. And Raven does get it over the net. Fort Scott who trying to get to that one and can't quite get it done. It's now 12-all again here in set number 2. Nice dig on the back row. I'll get it to Comstock. It's dug. And, oh, they're going to say it was a 4 contact. It was not blocked by Pittsburgh, so they're going to give the point to the Purple Dragons, and they take the lead here. I believe their first lead in this second set. It's now 13-12. Nice shot by Fort Scott. Avery Stewart found the back corner. Nice block again by Fort Scott. So they will go back on top here in the second set, 14-13. Ooh, that one Fort Scott couldn't quite handle. Tried to block it on the far side, but couldn't quite keep it alive. So it's back to 14-all now. Nice dig. Pittsburgh. Oh, they got to get it over, and it's going to go wide. So Fort Scott's going to steal another point here and go back out in front. Nice little scoop shot that time. We got a whistle, and I'm going to say a double contact on Pittsburgh. Scott getting closer and closer to forcing a third set. See if they can get that done. The set is still too close to call at this point. Fort Scott leading just 16-14, and now it's going to be 17-14. Tried a little drop shot that time, but it doesn't work out for Pittsburg. Now the Dragons are going to call a timeout. Good to see the student section out in their usually large numbers here at the Tiger Dome tonight. Up in the section right across from us in the upper deck. And that one, Fort Scott couldn't get all the way around it to return it. Pittsburg back to within 2. Get the ball to Keegan in the middle. Now they'll go back far side. Blocked by Fort Scott. Long over ball that time, but like that was still going to be in play, so Fort Scott had to play it and try to get back to it here in the corner and can't quite get it done. It's really great to see the school support and spirit from the kids. See a lot of these volleyball players, the football games on Friday night. See a lot of football players up there in the student section cheering on their volleyball teammates or classmates and schoolmates here right now as Keegan Yarrick picks up another big kill for the Lady Tigers. That'll make it 18-16 here in set number 2. I'm sure there's some golfers, some tennis players, some soccer players as well up there supporting the volleyball team here tonight. Fort Scott is one of those communities where everybody chips in a lot of the time, and it's great to see that, especially in the school system here. Another good turnout for the student section this evening. Dig Pink night tonight. There was a ceremony in between the Pittsburg-Chanute match and this one. We'll tell you about that in just a second as things are going back on the court now. Try to find that back. Nice job by Raven to keep that one alive for Fort Scott. Tigers get it over the net. Pittsburg goes far side. Nice block by Fort Scott. Return. Keegan able to keep it alive. Now back to Raven. Swing is a little long. Fort Scott trying to hit it off the block but couldn't quite get that one inbounds. 19-17. Long dig that time from Fort Scott, but they're able to get it over the net. Kept alive by the Lady Tigers. Raven gets it across. Now they try the middle portion of the court. Unfortunately, a lot of Tigers around the edges, but nobody close enough there in the middle to be able to get to that one. 19-18. Serve far side. Keegan with a nice swing, but it's blocked by Pittsburg. They'll keep it alive. Go to the back row now. Get it back around to Keegan, and she'll find the empty part of the court. And the Lady Tigers, first ones to 20 here in set number 2. Nice dig for Pittsburgh. They'll get it back across the net. Nice swing by the Lady Tigers, but Pittsburgh able to dig it, get back to the far side. Nice job by Fort Scott to get it back across the net. Pittsburgh still alive. Nice swing by Fort Scott, and they get it in. Kill goes to Briley Schaub. Like Briley was trying to go off of the Pittsburgh block. That worked well. And then it also ended up in. That serve may have been a little bit long. Pittsburgh tried to play it anyway. And it will go as a point for Fort Scott, and Pittsburgh takes their second timeout, second and final timeout of this second frame. So 22-18, Fort Scott leads here in the second set. It does appear the JVers are done for the evening, so this is the only one left going here tonight. Fort Scott fell to Chanute in their opening match this evening in 2 sets. First set was a barn burner. Second set was a little bit more spread out. Pittsburgh then took Chanute to 3 sets in their first match tonight. And Pittsburgh able to find the back line. So they'll go back to serve again. Ivory Watts. And that'll go as a service ace for Watts and the Purple Dragons. 22-20. Fort Scott still leading here in set number 2. Get it around to Comstock. That one dug up next to us. A little bit out of control. Fort Scott able to get the point. 23-20. Lady Tigers 2 points away from forcing a third and deciding set here tonight. Briley Schaub to serve. Nice dig by Pittsburgh. Fort Scott gets it back to Schaub and gets it over the net with Hazelbaker. Now they'll go, Pittsburgh goes far side. Nice dig by Fort Scott, but it's too long. Played by Pittsburgh. They'll go far side with the swing again. Fort Scott able to keep it alive. Now they'll try to go back corner. Dug by Pittsburgh. Nice long rally, and that one will be swung right into the middle of the net that time. We don't have a 22 on our roster here for Pittsburgh. But either way, it is set point for Fort Scott. 24-20 here in set number 2. Swing is wide. It was not touched by Fort Scott. We've got a third set coming up, folks. 25-20. Pittsburgh, Fort Scott with the win here in set number 2. Chad Cousins is your local 1842 Wealth Management Financial Advisor. Contact Chad for more information by email at chad@1842wealth.com or call 620-215-9240. Liberty Savings has been in Fort Scott since 1919, helping community members with their banking needs for over 100 years. Visit them at 24 South Judson or call 620-223-0300. Highway 3 has modern personalized fleece name blankets along with fun and unique personalized gifts. You can also now find Highway 3 products at several retail stores in the area. For more information, follow their Facebook page at facebook.com/shophighway3 or check out their website, shophighway3.com. State Farm agent Cale Nelson is your local agent for home and auto. Contact Cale for a quote or visit Cale's website at calenelson.com. You can also give Cale a phone call if you'd rather do it that way, 620-223-2828. Joey Fritter is a loan officer with Open Mortgage. Open Mortgage is a multi-channel mortgage lender, believing that better is possible, constantly striving to bring a better mortgage experience to everyone. Joey can assist you when buying a home from start to finish. Her office is located at 1 East Wall Street here in Fort Scott. Call today to get pre-qualified for a home loan at 620-644-8146. And Edward Jones has been advising customers in the world of finance for over 100 years. Financial advisor Jamie Armstrong continues that tradition here in Fort Scott. Contact Jamie by phone at 620-223-1866 or email Jamie at jamie.armstrong@edwardjones.com. We are underway here in set number 3, and the Lady Tigers take the early lead. And Pittsburg will get it right back. And another service ace for Pittsburg. They'll go on top 2-1 here in set number 3. Long dig that time over to Comstock. Nice swing by Kiley, but it's dug by Pittsburg. Kiley gets it back across the net for the Tigers. Back over far side. Nice job to keep it alive for Fort Scott. It still is alive. Raven will get it across the net. Oh, nice tap block that time by Kiley, but it just scooted off of her hand and fell on Fort Scott's side of the court. Nice swing that time by Kiley, but it's dug by Pittsburg, and they'll find the empty part of the court over on the far side. This one's starting a little bit like the first set did. 4-1 Pittsburg now. Another return error for the Lady Tigers, and they will call a quick timeout. Try to stop this momentum from Pittsburg here. Again, don't forget, we'll be on the airwaves again here on Duckbait TV on Fridays. The Fort Scott Tiger football team will host the Spring Hill Broncos. Spring Hill is going to be a tough test for the Fort Scott Tigers. There's no doubt about that. They're a 5A school who is 5-1 entering play here this week. But looking forward to it. Always look forward to those tests for the Tiger football team, and you never know. That's why they play the games, right? The way Fort Scott played last week against Chanute, you almost think they could beat anybody in the state. Nice dig by the Lady Tigers. They got to keep it alive. Oh, my goodness. With the spin, it got over the net, and Fort Scott is going to win the point. Sometimes it's better to be lucky than good, and the Fort Scott Lady Tigers were a little bit lucky on that one. But it works out for a point. Fort Scott's going to get, hopefully, a little bit of a run here. Kylie Comstock back to serve. That one dug a little bit too, well, either too long or too short. Could have been either way there that time. Fort Scott, 2 points right after the timeout here. I've said this before. Timeouts in volleyball, more than any other sport I've watched or had the privilege to broadcast, change momentum. I mean, timeouts in football can change momentum. Timeouts in basketball can change momentum, but not like they do here in volleyball. It is insane. And Fort Scott changing momentum there with that timeout. Try to get it back now. We'll work it near side. Nice dig that time by Pittsburg. Get it over the net. Back over to Keegan. She tried the far corner, but dug by Pittsburg. Nice job by the Tigers. Work it to the near side. Blocked at the net, but it fell on Pittsburgh's side. They'll have to keep it alive. They do. Ravens got it. Now over to Keegan. She'll get it across the net. Right back to Keegan, and she smacks it in. Dig was a little bit too long that time from Pittsburgh. Keegan read it perfectly, got right up to the net, and directed that down for a kill for the Lady Tigers. Short serve, but it's dug by Pittsburgh. They'll get it back to the back row of Fort Scott. Now back over the net it goes. And finds that empty part of the court. There is always, usually always, an empty part of the court in volleyball. You got to find it. Fortunately for Fort Scott, Pittsburgh's found it quite a few times tonight. And they find it again there. It'll be service ace for Pittsburgh as they double up. Fort Scott 8-4 now here in set number 3. Nice dig by Keegan. Find it near side, and Pittsburgh can't return it. Fort Scott's going to need a few more of those to get back into this one here. Trailing at 8-5 in set number 3. And that one will find the back corner. Looked like Raven didn't think she could quite get there, so she let it go, hoping it was going to go out of bounds, and unfortunately for Fort Scott, it just did find the back corner that time. 9-5, Pittsburgh on top. Keegan gets it over the net. Now back it comes to Fort Scott. Blocked, but kept alive by the Lady Tigers. Nice job that time by Pruitt. That one goes off the roof, and it's going to be a 4 contact here. Again, the roof is in play. Sometimes you just chalk it up to tough luck. That one's going to be too wide for Keegan. That'll make it 10-6. Pittsburgh on top here in set number 3. Far side it goes, a little bit too long on the dig, but it's dug by Fort Scott. Now back over, Keegan's got to get it over the net and can't quite get it done. So it's now 11-6, Pittsburgh here in set 3. Purple Dragons won the first set. Fort Scott took the second set. We're in the deciding third set. Fort Scott trying to get back into it. Comstock with a kill there. Fort Scott needs to go on a bit of a run here. Trailing by 4. Back to serve will be Forrester, the libero for Fort Scott. Libero to libero that time on the serve. It's dug by Pittsburgh. They'll get it back across the net. Fort Scott will come near side. Try the corner, but it's dug by Pittsburgh. They'll keep it alive, get it back over the net. Back over to Comstock. Nice swing that time, but it's dug by Pittsburgh. They'll go back far side with it. Nice dig by Forrester. Fort Scott able to keep it alive, and there it goes. It's in. (11-8) now. Oh, that serve came off the hand just a little bit wrong that time from Hadley. Didn't have the control she wanted. She was trying to come to the near side, I think, but didn't have the control she wanted and got it too far outside. Far side it goes. Fort Scott able to keep it alive. Oh, and that one went under the net, I think. Kylie gave it great effort, but it just went under the net. So 13-8 now, Pittsburgh with the lead. Even though it's the third set, still play to 25, winning by 2. That'll be a service error that time on the Purple Dragons. Tough luck for the Tigers. Avery Stewart tried to get a little bit of a drop shot that time, but didn't get enough on it. 14-9. Fort Scott keeps it alive. Get it back to Comstock, but it's blocked again at the net. Kylie is going up strong every time, just about. You'd almost like to see her, as Fort Scott's going to get a point back now, and almost like to see her, as you see that block come up, just hit that little drop shot right over the top of the block. She's tall enough, she's taller than anybody on the court. Back to serve now. Raven finds Keegan, and Keegan will smack it home. (15-11), back to 4 points. Far side it goes. And I think that was off. Oh, they're going to say. They're going to say Fort Scott did not touch that one. Pittsburgh thought it went off of Fort Scott. We'll get it back here with a serve long. 16-12. That serve is wide from Pittsburgh. And it looks like a lift call on Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh will go far side. Fort Scott able to get it over the net, and they'll get a little bit lucky again there as Avery Stewart used some spin to get it across the net and get it in that empty part of the court. So 16-15 now. Fort Scott still trails, but just by 1. Long dig that time, but Pittsburgh able to use it. Fort Scott, oh, it's blocked. And, oh, they say it didn't get touched by Pittsburg. Fort Scott definitely thought it got blocked. It sure looked like it got blocked to me, but I'm not on the conference list with the officials, unfortunately. So gave it to Pittsburg, 17-15, and that one is going to go off of Fort Scott again, 18-15. Nice what shot there. Great swing that time by Keegan Yarick. Fort Scott has been able to use that power. They've got quite a bit of it, especially between Keegan and Kylie Comstock. Used it again there for another point. 18-16. Pittsburgh still out in front. Fort Scott trying to get back in it. Nice job by Keegan, and she'll find the back corner again. (18-17). Can Fort Scott tie it up? They've been in this situation a couple of times already, where they've had a chance to tie it up late. Haven't been able to pull it off. See if they can do it this time. Come near side, off the block. It's dug by Pittsburgh. They'll keep it alive. They'll go far side. That corner again, and that'll be a 4 contact. Yeah. Was not touched by the Tiger block. So it is tied. 18-all here in set number 3. A lot of drama building here at the Tiger Dome tonight. Far side it goes. Nice dig by Fort Scott off of one of the speakers on the roof. They'll keep it alive. Sometimes being at home will help you a little bit with that, knowing how those balls will play a little bit. But Pittsburgh able to get the ball over there to Watts again, and she picks up another kill for the Lady Purple Dragons. I'll make it 19-18 Pittsburgh. Nice job by Keegan. May have been going out. Fort Scott played it anyway. Blocked by Pittsburgh. They'll try to swing it, and they do find the back corner empty again. So Pittsburgh was the first to 20 in set number 1. They ended up winning that one 25-23. Fort Scott was the first to 20 in set number 2. Won that 25-20. Now Pittsburgh first one to 20 here in set 3. It's 20-18 Purple Dragons, but now it's 20-19 as Keegan finds some empty court. Gets the Lady Tigers back to within 1. And for her efforts, she'll go back to serve for Fort Scott. And the JV match is over on the far court. So it is just this varsity match here, and another block by Fort Scott. And we're tied at 20. Late in this set, can Fort Scott take the lead here? Off the block, dug by Raven. They'll get it far side, trying to go to the back corner. It's dug by Pittsburgh. They'll come back to the near side. A little drop shot, but it's dug by the Tigers. They kept it alive. They'll get it back over, and the shot is in for Pittsburgh. 21-20. Pittsburgh with the lead here. And now it's 22-20. Pittsburgh still has both of its timeouts. Fort Scott still has one if somebody wants to try to use those at some point here in the last few points of this match. Talked about timeouts used to change momentum. We haven't had a whole lot of momentum changing. It's just gone back and forth here in this one. Pittsburgh able to get it across the net, get it back to Raven, over to Kylie, but it's kept alive by Pittsburgh. Near side it comes, off the block and in! 22-21, Fort Scott still trailing, but just by one now. Forrester back in to serve on, I believe, a libero substitution here. And they get it in there to the near side. So 23-21, and Fort Scott will take their final timeout now. You'd expect nothing less from a rivalry match, would you? Pittsburgh faithful right next to us cheering Pittsburgh Dragons, and Fort Scott student section over on the far side saying, "We can't hear you." They're going to hear him now, as it'll be match point for Pittsburgh, 24-21. And that one will go across the net, but out of bounds. And Pittsburgh comes away with the win here tonight. Your final score in set number 3, 25-21. Pittsburgh on top. It was a 3-setter here this evening. Pittsburgh won the first set 25-23. Fort Scott came back to win the second 25-20. But then Pittsburgh took the third set here, 25-21. A tough loss for the Lady Tigers here on Dig Pink night. A great night when they honored some cancer survivors and fighters in between matches this evening. Just unfortunately come out on the losing end twice this evening. Lost to Chanute in 2 sets, lost to Pittsburgh in 3 sets. We'll be back here at the Tiger Dome on Thursday as the provided the timing and everything works out, as the Fort Scott Tigers will host the Paola Panthers. If that match, and I'll say this, if that match starts at 5, it'll probably be like tonight, where we come on a little bit late, but we will have as much of it as we can get. If it starts at 6, we should have the whole thing for you, and I'm not 100% sure if it starts at 5 or 6. It looks like it's just Paola, so it may just be one match, kind of like the way Missouri does it, where everybody plays on the same court, but we'll see how that shakes out. So we'll be here on Thursday for more Tiger volleyball for you. And then, of course, we'll be back at Ferry Field on Fridays. The Tigers take on Spring Hill on the football field. So don't forget about those next 2 broadcasts. Again, thanks so much for joining us here on Duckbait TV. Again, a huge thanks to all of our sponsors for making these broadcasts possible. We've had a lot of great support, not only from our sponsors, but from the community, as it's been great to start something like this that you love to do, and we've had the great support that we've had so far throughout the community. So thanks to all of our sponsors. Again, Open Mortgage Loan Officer Joey Fritter, H2 Painting LLC, 1842 Wealth Management, Liberty Savings, State Farm Agent Cale Nelson, Highway 3, and Edward Jones Financial Advisor Jamie Armstrong. Again, a tough one here tonight for the Lady Tigers. They lose the first set in 2 matches. 2-0 to Chanute. They lose the second match in 3 sets, 2-1 to rival Pittsburgh. For my dad on the camera tonight, Willie Abatey, and all the duck baits out there, I'm Tony Abatey. Again, don't forget, we will be back here at the Tiger Dome on Thursday as the Tigers take on Paola in more volleyball action. And, of course, on Friday, we'll be over at Prairie Field as the Tigers take on Spring Hill for senior night. So join us for that here on Duck Bait TV. Thanks again for joining us this evening. Good night, Kansas.